I won't say you can't go any of the tag people listening to this podcast and do a little YOTK in somewhere in the world and send it to me and Tyler, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it.
Do it. No,
if you are, my guy.
Good. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. I'm sitting down with one of the most pissed off vocalists in the hardcore space, Tyler from Year of the Knife. Thank you for joining me on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank
and for the two people at home who are watching or listening who don't know who you are or the band you're a part of, can you just intro proper introduction for that and tell me where you're based?
Year of the Knife as a whole, you mean?
Yeah,
or
just like
me personally?
Tyler, Year of the Knife, and where you guys are from. Yeah.
I'm. My name's Tyler. I do vocals for Year of the Knife. We're basically based out of Delaware. I live in Newark, and I've lived here pretty much my whole life. It's kind of like the northwest of Delaware. It's very lush out here. There's a lot of woods and stuff like that, and just a lot of nature. So it's good to be out here,
Awesome. And, as far as the time of recording this, someone could be listening to this in 10 years' time, but Year of the Knife, you guys recently just put out a new album, and I would love to touch on that, some of the recording processes and just releasing during this whole pandemic. But usually how I like to start off all these episodes, Tyler, is just getting a little context on how you got into hardcore. So whether that was through punk, through metal, through whatever comes to mind, just take us back in time to tell us some of those formative moments for you.
Yeah, well, I got into music when I was, I don't know, I could probably say around like 10 years old. And it's always been a part of my life. And my mom and my brothers were, my mom was always playing music around the house and in the car. And I think some of the first music I ever heard was, from the radio. And so my mom would just play, anything Motown or Bob Marley or Patsy Cline or any, kind of stuff like Selena or something like that, And so I actually inherited her record collection a couple of years ago when she passed, and I've just been digging through every once in a while. I put on a record, and it's definitely expanded my music taste. My mind to it. It's cool. But then my brothers, were really the ones that kind of like broke the ice on that. Like with me, the first time I ever saw was my brother Ryan, and he used to just have like posters on the walls and in his bedroom, a lot of Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, more like 90s alternative stuff that we all, grew up in, heard on the radio. And I found out about Everclear and Nirvana. And Nirvana was like, that just changed my whole world. Like even with drumming, I learned how to drum from Dave Grohl and others as well. So, and just writing in general. I love Nirvana, so it's like probably my favorite band. And so Ryan was the oldest. He showed me like alternative stuff, and then my brother Brandon, second oldest, he was into tattooing and skateboarding and more of the crazier shit like punk. And he showed me like Bad Brains and Misfits and Rancid and just funny stuff, Screeching Weasel, shit like that.
Right.
And he's just a wild dude. And he actually kind of introduced me to drums because he drummed as well and he played guitar.
Oh, okay. Did you guys
And
ever
then
do like a family band kind of situation where, you know, you're on the drums and then he's on the guitar and you're writing stuff in the basement?
nah, I wish, man. Looking back at it now, at my age, I'm just like, God, I really wish that like I could. It'd be so cool. And my brother Brett, he's kind of the one who like me and him were really close, and we lived together with my mom. And what he would do is he got into so much music that he'd buy CDs and he'd take the inserts out and he would tack them to the walls of his bedroom, and it was just like this. It was so cool, dude. Like, and I looked up to it so much, and I was like, "What's that? What's that?" I'd take his CDs and I'd go to like on the school bus in the morning and be listening to my CD player to everything. And
Huh.
yeah, Brett showed me like crust punk and death metal, and just then I found hardcore on my own. So
And I,
yeah,
I
so
honestly, out of all the podcasts that we've done, I've heard it from like, oh, someone had like a compilation CD that they put in the car while we were driving, or
mm,
I saw something on Much Music or MTV, but
mm,
something that hasn't come up is just posters and like actual stuff that you rep on your walls that you're like, that band logo looks cool, or that poster of that album is interesting. Like, what is that? No, that
it's the
is very,
best.
yeah, that is
And
very
you're like
interesting.
judging a book by its cover too. You know what I mean? So when you see an album cover, you're like, "Damn, what the hell is that?" And you listen to it. It's crazy.
True. Yeah. I'm curious with all the tax. I'm sure when they took that off those CDs, it was just just like
We're
a
pissed.
yeah damage deposit out the window for that.
Yeah, and when we moved out of that house, like the house we grew up in, my mom and my brother and me, uh, I'm pretty sure my mom had to take care of that. Like, just I forget what you put. I forget the word for it when there's holes in your wall and you
Not
just
like
paste.
putty, but
Yeah,
something
it's like
something like that. Yeah.
stucco or whatever that shit is. I don't know.
No, that's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's like we move into an apartment or a new house, and it's like you want to put stuff on the wall, but you're like does it need a nail? Does it need a whole like
Oh,
screw?
tape or something, and just best bet. If you do tape, you'll fuck up the poster if you put it over it. But if you roll it and put it on the back of it, you're kind of good. It just
Yeah.
doesn't stick as best.
Yeah, yeah. There's different hacks for different kinds of tape, painter's tape, what have you. But
Yeah.
obviously we're here not here to talk about your Home Depot hacks for hanging your hardcore posters.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but
Yeah.
obviously you play in a pretty like prominent hardcore band. You're the Knife, and something that has been always interesting looking at that band is it's a very like family focused band. There's a married couple in the band. There's two
Mm.
brothers, and then there's yourself. So I was kind of curious on whether that was probably not intentional, but how do you balance the scales with all the different family dynamics in that project?
Um. Yeah, like the dynamic of it. It wasn't intentional. You know what I mean? It's crazy how things just gravitate towards each other. Either negative or positive, and like it's just a positive thing, man. Like we went through a lineup change for a while, um, and I don't know. It's so it's Maddie and Brandon. They're together, and then Andy and Aaron. They're. It's like they're they're everyone's looking out for each other. You know what I mean? But it's like they have their what's the word, like their bond, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm on the outside looking, and it's just really cool to see that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's good to be a part of that, because even with my family life, I've never really I've had all those brothers and sisters, but it's been such a broken family. So like being in the band and just seeing them, it's like it's cool to see that from the outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
like playing in a band, like it's another relationship that you need to work on and make sure you're on the same page as everyone, and there's no resentment that's building up behind the scenes of like, oh you pissed me off when we went into the studio and you did this or whatever it is. So
yeah, there's always going to be that. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, it's just like small, trivial shit that doesn't matter.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
No, I think it's really cool that, uh, even if there's like lineup changes and things like that, you're still connected to these people because of the projects that you're involved in, the riffs that you put down, the lyrics that you all put together as a unit. So no, I think that's really
mm,
cool. Um, so obviously, Year the Knife put out a new album very recently, Internal Incarceration. Um, I would love to just talk about just some of the artwork, because we'll get
mm,
into some of the artwork and creative stuff that you're into. Kind of like it is outside of hardcore, but it's also like it's got a foot in the pool at the same time, as far as the stuff that you're doing. But talk to me about just how that album came together, what the response has been, things that have surprised you with releasing a piece of music during this pandemic, anything that's off the top of your head.
um, well, I guess it came from the title. One day I was just I'm a dude who lives in his head, so I just came up with this title and it was internal incarceration, and then I had pitched it to them and they're like, yeah, that's cool. Like, so then it started to become like this. Just every song was based around that title. You know what I mean? But the writing was instrumentally writing was just like some of the songs were Brandon and me that we've had for a long time on the back burner, and then Andy and Aaron kind of started to join in, and Maddie as well, and they started writing more and more, and the song started to change once Andy was on drums, and just switched it around, and so they came out pretty fucking pissed off. Um, and I can adapt to that because it's like the way I communicate through my lyrics and the way I write. I feel like I know how to match the sound of that music because yeah, it's aggressive, sure, like every other fucking hardcore band, but like um there's just something different about it. You know what I mean? There's just it's it's angrier, and I guess that's why we're all together because we just feed off of each other. We're very pissed off music, um so that was like that with like I guess in a shell writing, but like with the artwork, this guy Sam Octegan, I hope I said his name right. Octegan. He's from Australia, Melbourne, I believe, and he's an amazing artist, dude. Like I stare at his stuff sometimes, and it's just beautiful. Like, and he has this very like these pastelish kind of not pastelish, but like very just like collaged colors and stuff. Just he does a lot of amazing work. I don't know how he does it, but we pitched that idea to him, the title, and I sent him a picture of my childhood home that I had a lot of you know stemmed shit from. Like a lot of the stuff that has made me me. And like took a picture of the house I grew up in, the same house we're talking about with the tacks on the wall and shit. And I was like, yo, like I don't think anybody else like really knew what they wanted for artwork. And I was just like, what if we just did this skull with a like a kid in it, trapped trapped within these like this razor wire, and then that childhood home a part of it. And dude, he just like put it all together as one head, and it's fucking terrifying. And I cried almost when I looked at it for the first time because I was like, it was triggering for sure. Like so.
Yeah,
Sorry. So yeah.
but
Go ahead.
I think it is like the album artwork. As soon as you guys posted it, I think I wasn't sure if it was with the first single, but it was just like caught my eye immediately. And the fact that there is
Mm,
some like actual call it real world inspiration from that with your childhood home being in the mix, that's mind blowing for me. So like it's not just like
yeah.
someone taking a bunch of images on Photoshop that he pulled from Google and putting it together. It's like, lots of actual real art and pulling
Mm.
it from real things. That's very cool.
Yes. I don't think many people know that about the house. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I got to talk on that. So.
An
Um,
exclusive.
yeah, so I don't know what else. I mean, as far as recording with Kurt, it was sick. Um, and the songs had changed so much tempo wise, like they just got even more accelerated,
Sure. Yeah.
more pissed off, and I had a hard time. Um, dude, I swear to God, like I was sick, the sickest I've ever been in my life. And if COVID ever existed, like then, which a lot of people say it does, I think I had it. Is I was in the shower 3 times a day, just trying to suppress like all the pain in my body and like
Really? Wow.
yeah, the congestion and I couldn't breathe and like I had like weird ass nightmares and just like so everyone had a really good time. I think I struggled the most and like but like everyone was just so it's sick to be there. Like it was such an experience because like Kurt is just this wizard, man. Like I can't justify it enough to explain how his mind works. Like he is always 10 steps ahead, you know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
knows exactly where everything's gonna go. His intuition on things is just really awesome. So
And I think that's really cool to be able to have someone do your artwork outside of the group, and or have someone outside of the group come and produce things, and just like
mm,
be able to come at things just a little unbiasedly, and just take it to that next level that you're like, literally, if we sat in a room for 10 years, we would have never thought to like take it to that, doing that breakdown again, but faster or slower or
mm.
whatever it is. That it is really cool to be collaborative with that. Um, so there, do you think it's fair to say that there might have been a little, whether it's confirmed or not, as far as being COVID in the actual mix of the
Um,
recording process?
I could never say. I mean, I know we all got pretty sick. Um, I was just, I was probably the worst out of it all, but like everyone else was getting sick too,
Yeah.
and y'all never know. I'll never know because, um, yeah. Sorry.
No, that's all good.
That's it.
I was gonna ask though, as far as, because, and maybe this is coming off of like the end game release, as far as like me thinking some songs are gonna like hit. I guess people are gonna dig them more, and then it's the total opposite. It's like there's certain songs that I think are, more basic or stock, but those are the ones that get more attention. So I'm kind of
Mm.
curious from your guys' angle, were there certain songs that you were like, this is the song that everyone's going to be sharing, but then it's totally the opposite?
Dude, it's honestly, we kept saying that about every song. We were like, this is the one. No, this is the one. This is the one. Like Final Tears is like the one I was like, dang, like as soon as the chorus breakdown hits, like it's so fucking strong that it like I had to step back. I was like, wow. Like once you hear it in the studio. Um I don't know. Like I said, like every song did that to us. Stay Away, I think, really got me um the most because it was just this that fast pissed off chaotic shit that I always grew up with. And I think I'm gonna say, dude, I'm gonna say Eviction was probably the most progressed song because like it just had so much more like I don't even know the right word for it. Like we just progressed with it. So if it was anything like with the next album that we would do, it would just be like that would be the beginning of it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? But um yeah, Eviction was a big one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I know a lot of artists of different scales and sizes are kind of in this weird tangent of like releasing new music but not having really many opportunities to be able to play those songs in a live setting. I know you guys did a live stream with 856 before
Mm,
the album came out, and I was thinking about this when I was prepping for this podcast. Is there was moments where you guys were like, yo, this is a new song, and then just like certain hooks from the chorus. That when I heard the
Yeah.
album, I was like, oh, that's from the live stream, so it just connected it that much more.
Hell yeah.
Was
Yeah. That's what's sick,
Yeah.
because that's
Was
like,
that like
like
okay? Like let's make sure that
effective.
we play some new stuff for this stream. Because
Mm.
you guys were the second band to do anything stream-wise with Sunny, but even then there weren't a lot of bands doing live streaming of that scale. So was it a little daunting to not really have anything to reference, or you guys were like, no, let's just do this so we can get the new shit out to the world?
Yeah, I think it was just more just like ready to go. We weren't really like trying to push the new stuff as much, but we were excited to play like two new songs.
Yeah.
But the idea came from Sonny, and he's like, "Yo, would you want to do this?" And like, we're like, "Fuck yeah, like let's go," and just try something new. And it came out cool. We were intimidated for sure. Like we were nervous more than we ever were at a show. Like,
Yeah.
and then we had like this countdown from like 10 seconds, and when you're, it's like this invisible audience. Obviously, like you're on three different streaming platforms, and you don't know who's watching, but there's a couple hundred people watching.
Yeah.
It ended up being a couple thousand, which was fucking awesome. And like, um, yeah, it was fucking intimidating. And then once we got, going, it was like, all right, we got the machine rolling.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like I'm not sure how much of a sports guy you are, but like some sports have like people who are watching via like Zoom or Skype or whatever it is, but there's always that delayed reaction when that like game-winning shot happens, and you see them like, whoa.
nah, like that sucks. I never really thought about it like that, but like that's cool. And I mean, it's just a different experience. You're
Yeah,
at home. You're not in the stadium. You're not at the bar or anything. It's
yeah,
like you're at home watching it on your. I guess it wouldn't be any different from watching a football game on TV, but
yeah,
the delayed of it is like is strange, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and that being said, like any band that's doing a live stream, probably doesn't want like a bunch of screens of people like moshing in their bedrooms. That would be pretty memeable if that ever happened. But
Yeah. Yeah, there was this one kid, he posted a video on Twitter like he was like taking
oh yeah,
pictures of his TV, like while he was at the
yeah.
show or something. I was like, that's
I think
funny as
I
shit.
I think I messaged him. I was like, well, it's one thing to take the pics, but you got to post them now if you're getting this much attention as far as shooting the Year of the Knife show.
Yeah, dude. There's like pictures of the TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
all
it's
like
so
the
good.
reflection, and it's just like I can't even use any of these.
Yeah, of course. Of
um,
course.
as far as so just the process of you guys like putting it out, like what is kind of the next thought process? Because there's kind of like a when any band puts out an album, there's like the okay, like we can go on tour, we can play these festivals, we can like really relish it and like milk it for like a good year,
Hmm.
2 years, whatever it is. But now it's like a little the buck kind of stops at that point, and then it's like, okay, do we sit around? Like, what are the things that you guys are thinking about? Like, obviously, doing things like this, like a podcast where you can talk about it, or jumping on. Uh, there's a number of different ways, but what are the things that you guys are thinking about talking about with the label and anything that you can kind of share for any other bands who are listening who are like trying to figure it out as we all are right now?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have really anything planned. We kind of put it out, and we've been chilling on it, and we're just waiting to see what happens. Like, and there's so much uncertainty. We will. I always thought it was just good to just do like a record release live stream. Since we have that record now, but like this is hardcore was going to happen, but I'm not sure what's going on. So it's still up in the air. There was going to be like a live stream this is hardcore thing, and
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing some of that.
yeah. So but like, dude, I mean, the only like cool idea like I really thought was just like quick and easy, and like it's like, yo, just post about your band. Like, yo, we're going on at this time. We're going live at this time. Instagram live, and like, and you go on and you play a song or two. You don't have to play a whole set, you know. And just it keeps people interested. It keeps people involved, and people share that. Other people that aren't following the band see that from mutual friends, and so. But now, like, we haven't even talked about it. I guess one of us is just waiting. We're like, yo, I got this idea, and real life gets in the way. So
Yeah.
for now,
Yeah, that's the big thing to remember is like we're all trying to figure out how to do things with our bands, but even behind all of that, there's all the things that we're just trying to figure out like in our just regular lives, like paying bills and like making sure we're on top of just things in this, a lot of people are like I'm just waiting for things to go back to normal, but like I realize that it's just like trying to adjust to a new normal where, you
mm,
know, we're
oh god,
all like, there's so many things and not trying to bum anybody out, but yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow that, there's things aren't
there's
just going to go back to how 2019 was, but
no. It's definitely a change for billions of people.
yeah.
And like whether you believe in the universe or not, I think there's a big cosmic shift where shit has just been it's inevitable, and you can't fight it. You have to roll with it. You got to roll with the punches on it. And everyone's been affected by it, especially with depression and anxiety. And
Yeah.
statistically, like I read some article the other day, and it went from like last year, the rate of people with depression and anxiety was at 9%, and now at 2020 it's 31%.
Holy shit.
That's fucking huge. That's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I'm someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure September is also like suicide prevention month, so there's a lot of information happening now, and yeah, it's a crazy time
mhm.
to make sure that you're, checking in on all your homies, checking in on people who you're maybe not super tight with, but you've seen like the writing on the wall, like, hey, maybe I should like DM this person and just be like, yo, like, how are things,
Or
and that's a big thing as far as like instead of just being like what's new or what's up, like just being like, hey, you good.
yeah, what's you know what I mean? And I, sometimes people sometimes people don't know what to say, but like the best thing you can do is just like share something funny with them, or like, yo, like I don't have all the answers. Like let's go walk around or some shit. Let's go in the woods. Like just do anything. It just keep your mind off and out of the house, and just it does suck, man, because when you're depressed and sad or whatever, like it's like you're doing everything you can to care for someone else while trying to care for yourself most importantly. And it's just like your closest friends are struggling too, and you don't have much to say, but like, and I'm speaking from personal stuff. It's just like, yeah, I don't have much to say that I usually do. Well, let's just go somewhere. Like, let's just do something, man. It's sad, but that's just the way it is. You got to find a way to adapt.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
and if I could share as well, like I've been in that position where I'm struggling and I want to push the people that are close to me out. Like I don't,
Mm.
like there is I won't get into a lot of it, but there was times in my life where
Right,
it's
right.
like I don't like it's my mind games as far as like, oh, I'm gonna push out my family, I'm gonna push out my loved ones, my friends, and then it
Mm.
took some of those people to be like, no, I'm gonna be here and I'm like sit beside you, or I'm gonna take you out for coffee, or just go to a park and just laugh at someone wearing their mask on their forehead or whatever it is.
Yeah, dude.
No, I think forget what that movie is as far as like laughter being the best medicine.
uh,
But is that Mary
I don't
Poppins?
know.
I don't know. Something like that.
Patch Adams or something. I don't know.
But it is so true. So
It
we're
is.
gonna transition here, because
Mm.
anyone who follows your personal account knows that you're heavily involved in drawing. You're
Mm.
holding up a little. Is that like
Uh,
a milk truck with graffiti on the side?
yeah, this is a graph artist, and he writes curve. Curve.
That's
But
cool.
he put out a zine, and you put this little cutout box truck, and you cut it out and put it together. It's sick. Mm-hmm.
I've gotten some of those like they're like those, but it's like build a ATTE or ATST from Star Wars, but it's all metal, and I'm like, I don't have the time or patience to do any of this.
I mean, anything to keep your mind off of it. Anything, yeah. But but sorry, yeah, you were saying like the art.
So just tell me like some of the origins of that. A big goal of mine with this podcast is obviously show the interest that people have outside of just breakdowns and mosh riffs and all that. And I know like as far as artwork wise, like graffiti and some of this, some of the style that you do is like definitely more, I guess, popular or known. So tell me about how you got into that and how you started applying that to some of your music as well.
Well, was really big into graffiti when I was a kid, and I take the bus, school, and the highways were just destroyed with graph, and a lot of that I just thought was so interesting, the colors, and pretty much opened my world to everything. And I started drawing, and 13 years later, it's like I'm still drawing, and I've always had appreciation for letter structure and penmanship and anything like type lettering or fonts or stuff like that. So, and I just draw them every day so many times. Like until recently, I've been in my other part of my room where I have like a kind of like a sign painter's table. It's like two pieces of plywood and a fucking 2x4, two 2x4s. But I just use it's like a like an easel,
Oh, sure.
And and I've been doing like paintings, and I've been doing all that stuff, and just anything that comes to mind, anything. I try not to box myself in, and just do like break those barriers and just do anything. It doesn't fucking matter what it is. Do anything. But transitioning to music and hardcore, years ago, like I would do like a doodle here and there, maybe for like a band, and maybe a flyer or something. And then probably around like 2016, 2017, one of the first things I ever did was for Malice at the Palace. And I worked at a UPS store and had the advantage to do all this shit. I had a copier machine, and it was a very chill job. And I had a lot of downtime, so I could just draw, copy, manipulate, tear shit apart, and use the computer as well, and just whatever, man. Like whatever I could do to just stay in my mind, So, but Malice at the Palace, and then I posted something on Instagram, and then everyone's like, "Yo, that's fucking sick!" Like, I'm like, all right, I got something here, and like, Bamakara hit me up, Jukai hit me up, and then just like 3 Knee Deep, and then all these different bands, smaller bands, Snowball.
Yeah.
So it's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah. What's been a question I have here is what's the craziest commission that you've done, whether it's the artwork or just like the person that asked you to do something up?
Oh man, nothing too crazy, nothing too big yet. I'm trying to think though, like, bear with me, hold up.
Okay.
Sorry. I got this.
It's pretty funny for any of the visual audience members or
because no one's
whoever's
gonna
watching,
see it.
because you're literally just looking around, but all I can see is like 2 doors and something hanging above him. Anyone who's listening is just like, this is. I'll have to describe it. So Tyler's got a big art bag that he's
black folder portfolio, pretty much.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like I've never gotten too crazy out there yet. I've done stuff for Terror. I would consider Terror pretty prominent, huge, big hardcore band. But I just it's really hard to say, man. 3D Deep is probably my favorite thing that I've done.
Okay. What did you do for 3 Knee Deep?
I gotta show you. It's right here on my wall.
Okay.
I gotta
We're
flip it
going
up. I
we're
don't know if
going
this.
mobile.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I have seen that.
So they've done a couple of shirts with it, but it's got so much depth to it and layering. Bricks in the background, gunshots in there, a lot of 3D, a lot of like just crown, like the crown on the top and
Yeah,
eyeballs and stuff. So
that's very
um,
cool.
just pretty reflective of my personality, I guess. So
Yeah.
hell yeah.
But the thing, and I saw one, just a video, and it was just like a blue piece of paper, and you had a very, call it like thick, like marker that
Mm.
the more you pressed on it, the more that it would like drip and get kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think what's really cool about that is like you literally start from nothing, and if you make a mistake, or you do an R with like a little tail, and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this one without it. It's
Mhm.
like what you do is what you get. Is there a lot of prep going into stuff like that? Are you like drawing it by pencil just to kind of get an idea of where things are going to lay out, or is it just like, I'm going to do this, and if I don't like it, I'm just going to throw it in the recycling or what have you?
When I like logos, I'll still try to do pen and paper. I recently switched over to Procreate.
Oh, okay.
Pen and so pencil and paper, you get the best result. So there is a lot of prep to it. I sketch it first. I'll send the band the sketch, see how they feel about it.
Right.
And then I'll just start going in with liners and markers and stuff like that. Um, as far as like the drippy stuff like that, that's like my own personal artwork to sell. And um, that marker itself, it's called a mop, which is pretty much just like a classic tool for anybody who writes in graffiti. And it just drips. It's nasty, it's messy, and you can't control that. You know what I mean? Whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens. But I like to think that when you create shit, it's just like it meant to be. Like, don't fucking touch it. Just let it do its thing. Like, if there's a reason it happened that way, it went that way. So, as far as sometimes there's drips can get in the way for legibility. You want those letters or that logo to be seen. You can clean it up in certain ways, but I try not to mess with it too much. But
That's a big
yeah.
thing, because the video that I'm referencing, there's, I think you meant to drip it from one of the letters, and it randomly went like, it would have, anyone who was watching, including myself, would have thought it would just go straight down, but it went like this and then went out, and I was just like, what? But like the fact that happened is like, that's just one little thing that makes that piece extra unique.
Dude, I think I know what you're talking about. Sometimes, like, so if you use another marker, uh, and it's fresh, and you just did that a minute ago, and then you're putting drips over it, that drip's gonna get caught up in whatever the previous thing you did,
Right.
and then it's gonna like trail it along through that wet ink. And yeah, man. I mean, it's sick. It's
Yeah.
whatever happens, it happens.
Yeah, but like you said, like if you're doing a commission for like a band's logo, you don't want to just like do something, throw it at them, and then they're like, we're actually kind of think like there's a little bit more time and
Yeah.
thought put into it. But if you're just like, I'm gonna put something out, I'm just gonna draw something today, and you're just like, is that kind of where your mind goes when it comes to like personal stuff? Is it just like quantity versus like quote unquote quality?
Uh, yeah. Sometimes it's either both. That's really, really, really good. Damn. God damn, that really got me, dude. Because like that makes me think a lot about what I've been doing recently. Holy shit. Yeah, it's been a lot about quantity first. Like, um, and it's a little bit of mix of both. But like, as long as I'm just creating, because the end goal, there is no end goal to it. But like, think of 3 years from now, how much you can progress by doing something every day,
Yeah.
one thing a day. You know what I mean? And that's either good or bad. And that's just kind of like the goal I'm on. And I try not to think about it too much. I just do it and
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And it takes my mind off things for a little bit. And, Sorry, I forget the question. I don't really know if we got to
No,
that
no, no.
question.
You're all good. Like that's been a big thing for me with mainly like video production is like,
Mm,
when this podcast came to be, I was like, okay, we're doing it in person. We're gonna have multiple cameras. It's in a controlled space with all this lighting, and then COVID hit, and it was like, either we're gonna adapt to like
mm,
doing something online and
mm-hmm,
try to do more because no shows are happening, and a big thing, and this was just a lesson on top of multiple things, is like the quality of what this podcast is subjective. Someone could be listening to this and is like, this is the best sounding podcast I've ever had. And there might be someone who's like, well, there could be a little bit of tweaks and stuff like that. But like to get
yeah,
upset that I'm only catering to those like very like high level podcast listeners is like, it's naive, because there's a ton of people that just want to like literally be driving in the car and just listening to two dudes just chatting about hardcore. And
yeah,
you can do that over Zoom, you can do that over whatever. So that like the over, and the process of that getting better happens by doing, versus like, okay, I'm gonna go into this like, this like this cave and just think about this podcast for 9 months, and then like that
mm-mm.
growth is not gonna happen that same way.
And it's not good because like, um, that's why so many people just drop out of shit. You know what I mean? Like they
100%.
don't want to. They're not present, and that's a lot of anything you want to get done or anything that comes with art or anything you want to learn. It's like you got to be in that moment to really know what you're doing and just appreciate it. Um, because it's like that saying where people are like, I don't know if this is really with that, but it's like if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. You know what I mean? So that's work. Learning how to run a podcast is work. Like learning to find the adjustment for like levels and volumes and like what can make your voice sound better. That's work. You wouldn't know it at the time, but a year from now, you look back on it and you're like, damn, this sounds so much more clear and crisp, you know?
Right. And
It's
I
great.
and I feel like it's a better move to like just keep outputting, and when there's those jumps in maybe quality, or just like, I think it just boils down to recognition, because I feel like more
Mm,
people are going to fuck with something if there's a giant line of like, here's 100 podcast episodes that I did. Now I can actually like feel um
mm,
feel like this is a podcast that enough people are listening to, so maybe I have like a couple sponsors. Same thing for you. If you're like, okay, I was offline for 6 months and I work, and here's one piece, and now it's costing this much. It's like, well, like where were you for the past 6 months? Like I would have much
right.
rather seen all the stuff that you were making in that time, and now like your artwork is at a level that it's like, yeah, like that makes sense because Tyler's been drawing and doing shit for that long. That
It's a
makes sense that
really
he's
good
charging
point.
that much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard too because like you want to document and you want people to know like, yo, I've been doing such a good job. Like, listen to this, check this out. But it's like it's kind of like that distance makes the heart grow fonder thing, you know, and where you want it so bad, you want people to know so bad. Um, but like the I don't know, like the prize is worth it once you get to it. I guess that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
um,
not about like arriving at a certain like destination. It's like all the all the things that took you to that. Because as
all
soon
the
as
hard
someone
work.
like gets to like, the point of, you guys getting signed to Pure Noise, and then it's like,
Mm.
okay, well, what's next? It's not like, okay, we did it. Time to wrap it up.
Yeah, it was nothing. You know what I mean? That is like nothing to like. Yeah, it's an achievement. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. But what's next?
Yeah.
Like, no one really. You got signed. Like, so what? Like,
Yeah.
same major label. Like, million. You didn't make $1 million. Like you got to keep pushing the envelope for sure.
Yeah. Going back to some of the art talk, is there anything that you've done on like a larger scale, like outside of your room, where you're like got
Mm.
paint cans and you're doing the side of a building or something like that?
Ah, damn. Well, like I used to do like windows sometimes for restaurants, like when I was
Oh,
younger.
yeah.
Nowhere near as good. God, dude, I think it's terrible. But Besides like that, the really cool thing I get to do is Little Goat Coffee in Newark. It's like 5 minutes from me, but I've been very fortunate enough to be in there and update the menu with chalk markers, like actually
Oh, okay.
build the menu for them and update whatever current coffee beans they have in, and um, handwriting coffee bags, like hand stamped, hand printed. And it just, I was doing that for about 2 or 3 years, and things have changed and still there, but we're just progressing. So there's that. And um,
Did you do a tea company as well? I think I saw
yeah,
that
that's actually
something
them.
recently. Yeah. Oh, that's the same
Yeah,
people. That makes sense.
yeah, it's an immunity tea. It just has all these crazy herbs, and it's really awesome. It's my boss Olivia. She Her mom owns this farm out in Pennsylvania, and it just has this beautiful garden, and just the herbs and all that stuff. It's all homemade, and she gets it from there, and she makes this tea, and it's just it's grounding. It's crazy. It's a pretty crazy experience to drink that stuff. So yeah,
That's cool. I have
yeah,
to I'll have to tell my friend Dom. He's a local death metal head, and he runs his own tea company as well called Pitch Black North.
that's sick. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after this podcast. It's the vibes of it is like very metal, but like
Mm.
he has some like crazy blends. So I'll send it to you after this.
All right, definitely want to hear see
But
about that. That's
yeah,
cool.
as far as like doing something on a bigger scale, is that something that you hope to do? Because I would love
Yeah.
to like, if you got a mural that you're doing and it's like
Oh
you
man.
got your mask on and all that shit, like I would love to just either even just see a time lapse of that coming together. That would be very cool.
Dude, that's awesome here. Thank you. I just, it's crazy you bring that up because I have had recent goals that I want to reach, and I want to be involved with the community more in the city, and I think the city needs more art, and it can be a little bit like stiff at times around here, and it just needs more color, dude. Like it needs more. It's a fun town. Like it's a college town. It needs more, So like just getting involved with the city, and having the permission to do like murals or whatever, just put your art out there. I would love to.
Yeah.
So I would, whatever I can get my hands on, I'll try. I'll
Do
try
you
and
think
do it.
it? Do you think it's a little harder just with graffiti being something that people will just like
Mm.
kind of go out, and then it's more viewed as like a
Stigma.
yeah, there's a stigma behind it versus like someone who's like painting like a giant bird and a for I don't know. I'm just pulling something out of my ass,
Yeah,
but
nah, I know exactly what you're getting at, and it's like there is appreciation for that stuff, but there's also like appreciation within graffiti. There's the vandalism side that is completely gray area, and nobody will ever understand unless you're involved in it. And you know, city officials, the state, the government, any of those people, they're gonna look at that big wigs, like they're gonna look at that shit and they're like, nope, it's trash. That is destroying the environment, destroying the city, like, and to an extent, sure, yeah, like that's just how it is. Like that's how graffiti is. Like people will fucking paint on business windows. They'll do anything. It doesn't matter. But it's like when you're involved in that kind of stuff, you're like, fuck it. Like that's just how your life rolls.
right.
And that's the culture of it. Like that is, you can't explain that to people. Like people hate what they don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They fear what they don't understand.
yeah.
And they would never want to understand something like that. So um but you have, just something on my style, and trying to like approach a city official like that is like, I don't know, there is a chance. There is something like that where it could be like, yeah, this would be cool, because there is like this kind of reverse psychology to stopping vandalism, constant vandalism, um, on like walls in the city by people putting murals up. And it does work. It prevents, there's like this prevention to it. And
Yeah.
um, but three
it's almost
times somebody
like,
might diss it, you know?
yeah, no, I think it is one of those things where it's like growing up, it's like, here are the rules, you can't do this. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna go and do all these things. Like,
Yep.
um,
Domestication. Like people don't want to be fucking told what to do, man. That's why people retaliate so much, like wearing masks and shit. Like, ugh, yeah, it's crazy.
um, yeah. Well, I definitely hope that you get opportunities like that in the future, because now that we talked about it on this podcast, I can like clip this moment and just like slam it next to you, just like, here's my giant mural or my third one or
It's like, remember that
whatever it
one
is.
time,
Yeah, exactly,
dude?
100%. Well,
Thanks, man.
Tyler, we're getting to that point where we can start to wrap up the show.
Cool.
I did have actually one question before I asked you our bookend last question. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen uh, either? Yeah, let's do this. Have you ever seen a Year in the Knife like tag somewhere while you were on tour that someone else had done, or just
Oh,
in a really random place?
nah, that would be sick. I have not yet. That'd be really cool. Um, I know some dudes who've shouted out, graph wise, but like,
Okay, gotcha.
there are stickers everywhere. Not from somebody else, but something like where I would put up a sticker. Those YTK stickers are like a square in out in the middle of the desert, and like 2 years later, I could pull up to this gas station. I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy! It's right there. So that's kind of cool, but like that's me. That's like see somebody else do it. I'll never know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if they, I don't know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, including myself. But if I won't say you can't go any of the tag people listening to this podcast and do a little YOTK in somewhere in
yeah,
the world and send it to me and Tyler. But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it. But
do it. No, sorry. But
um,
nah, like see one day, that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. So Tyler, the bookend question that I always ask every guest that comes on this podcast is a favorite Mosh story off the top of your head, and that doesn't
Mm.
necessarily need to be something that you did. Just anything, whether it's something at a Year in the Knife show, or a show that you went to that you didn't expect there to be moshing. Whatever is first to your mind is how we end things here.
Oh man, I can't say any.
I can't really think off the top of my head for Year of the Knife. I mean, probably like one of the next like we played Gilman out in there's a 924 Gilman Street out in San Francisco um or Berkeley in fucking there was mad people there, but I didn't think anybody was gonna like mosh just because we were a new band, and it blew the fuck off. Like people were like just going crazy, dude. Like um I've gotten fucked up from people moshing like on floor shows,
Yeah.
people like falling into the drum set and just but no recall from like a specific show, you know what I mean, for Year of the
Yeah.
Knife.
I did
Um,
see that there was one clip that you showed on your Instagram where it's like, you gotta, when you see the style, you gotta respect it. And I'm not sure if
it's my
that
man Dom.
was the Dom.
Let's use that. Let's use that
Let's
right
use
there.
that. Yeah.
That was in Long Island. That was fuck. That was a record release for Hangman. Uh, Vile Decree, their first 7-inch EP. What they did, such a sick show. And we were playing, and Dom is the singer of Simulacra. He's a really good friend of mine, a really good friend of the band, and like one of the best
Band's
moshers
insane.
besides Keith Gallagher. Shout out to Keith Gallagher, payback.
Yeah.
But uh, Dom's style is just crazy. He's angry, he's pissed off, and he just knows how to just have fun and express himself. So yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Dom. Shout out to all the talented moshers out there.
Yeah.
Tyler, anything that you want to plug as far as handles, any links as far as albums, anywhere that you want to send people after this podcast ends?
Man. I would say I got a new band coming. It's more of the alternative band. It's called Sadder Star.
Satyr
it's
Star.
Satyr Star. Yeah.
Cool.
So it'll be cool, man. But besides me, man, like I would just check out Little Go Coffee. Check out other industries. They're a screen printing company out of Delaware, and yeah, Soaked in Ink, screen printing as well. So I guess just kind of try to stay off of social media and just create something fun for everybody that's listening.
I love that. I love that we're ending things that way. Definitely, if you're a fan of anything graffiti wise, definitely go follow Tyler on Instagram. Listen to Year of the Knife. Love what that band's doing, and I'm a huge advocate for supporting any band who's giving us new music during this very weird time in the world.
Yes.
Tyler,
Hell yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast and jamming with me, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's fun.